My name's Heather. I'm here in Denver, Colorado. Um, these are my works, monotypes and serigraphs that I made during the pandemic without a press here in my turret here. So here we have Sphere 7 and Sphere 1. I want to talk a little bit about what they mean. I have a series of eight photos that I selected for this series, and these are 2 of them, hence the numbers. So let's go to the second slide. So I went ahead and put cues on here for me. Much like Picasso, I'm kind of superstitious, even though it's irrational. And it doesn't make sense a lot of the time. It's still something that I generally do. So in my everyday, I'm always looking for these signs, these warnings, and these clues in weather, nature, coincidences, and found objects. I think we should acknowledge and listen to the things around us. And I am of the opinion that we need to resume a conversation with the world around us. In spheres, I'm acknowledging the spirit and agency of objects. So next slide. Here I'm talking about the steps I took. These are the first 8 photos. I have several more. I just started photographing these balls whenever I find them. And I think they're bringing me messages. And I wonder what the anomaly means. So my initial approach was to take these ball sightings and interpret them as prints. The spheres are examples recorded over a 12-year period in Colorado and Utah. And the pieces began from these 8 photo studies. So next. The first thing I did was pulled it into Photoshop and digitally manipulated them into, they call this posterizing. You can do as many levels as you want. I generally did about 2 or 3 because I knew that I wanted to use 4 colors. I come from a design background and a graphics, and so I'm really interested in the 4-color process, and I'm really familiar with that. So that's what I did here, and these were printed onto mylar or acetate. I'm not really sure, but they're fairly large. They're almost 14 inches by 24. And so next slide. So here, because I lost access to the shop, I had to rethink how I was going to do these. So I really wanted to test what would happen when I did a hand press on a monotype using no pressure, or just the pressure that I could manually do. So I did these tests. So these are just like 1 color, 2 colors, 1 background color, 1 black, and then I used colored pencils to kind of find color harmony. And so that's what those are. So next slide, please. The next thing I did is I wanted to really look at the shapes and textures that I was going to try and achieve using ink. And so I just applied charcoal to the key plate. So these are preliminary studies. It's interesting to note, I wanted to talk about how the marks from a hand press monotype can translate as gestural texture, like charcoal, crayon, or pastel. They're uniquely individual, and it is impossible to plan or replicate them. Next slide. So the colors here I'm showing, they're laid down using monotype and screen inks. Marrying the two types of inks can cause fluctuations in hues, so each layer of the color is adjusted to harmonize or pop up the color below it. Each layer I felt was really affected by what was going on in the world. And that I felt like they were brightly attempting to ward off chaos outside as society grapples with what is important. Here I'm showing a little ruby leaf and my screen. Next slide. And then I talk about some of the concepts behind the spheres and the name frequency and proximity. Frequency can a random instance of focus increase in anomalies frequency? What is happening when you notice something and then you notice it more and more? One thing I noticed when working on the series is the frequency of the ball sightings started to increase. I started seeing them more, and I felt like they were rife with synchronicity. Next slide. On proximity, I imagine these mundane objects are objects with agency. Because they are out of place, they may be delivering some sort of message that I should be listening to. They're conspirators in the energy of everything. As I planned out my images for the prints, like I said, sightings started happening more. Next slide. So when I first considered what the spheres mean, back years and years ago, I saw them as romantic entities, revolutionary, literally, like Edouard Manet's Le Déjeuner sur les Herbes from 1863. They appeared to me to be hiding in plain sight, amongst the trees by the water in full possession of their animus. They present alluding to a narrative while not putting forth one, and they are omens signaling a change. Next slide. So here's the end slide and the 3 pieces that actually got made. First, the shop that was making the transparencies for me also couldn't get them to me after these first 3. I now have them, but these are the first 3. Often it is the inanimate that seems animate and the nonverbal that appears to communicate. And with the onslaught of COVID-19, frequency and proximity may be casting these presumptive spherical messages in a new light, and I am reconsidering my own frequency and proximity and that of others. And that's what I have to say about the spheres that are hanging at Remarque right now. And I'm really grateful and honored to be hanging there in this exhibit with so many great artists. And thank you, Remarque. If we want, how are we doing on time?
We're good. Do you do you have more to say? Or did
I could talk over.
Oh, Jessica's got a question.
Oh.
Okay. Hi. I have a question. The idea of how did you start with the idea of like looking for the spheres? Did you were you seeing them around and so because anyway, I've done a whole series of shopping carts and I got obsessed. Like I would be like crazy person, like pulling over really fast to like catch the shopping cart in the right light. And I'm wondering
That's
if
so funny. I did that too.
yeah, okay.
I must have like, yeah, I have a ton of shopping carts.
Oh,
That's
do
so
you? Yeah,
funny.
yeah. But
And I always
the
thought,
balls are interesting because it's like it's another object that's left somewhere, like a shopping cart, right? So I'm just wondering how that came to happen, sort of.
well, I think they get away. I think they escape, you know, and I'm like, oh, they're free. They're here to tell me something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and where they land and who left them and all that. So did you get sort of obsessed with them or
Um,
photographing?
I guess I'm obsessed with them. I just kind of, when I see one, then I will go, oh, pull over, gotta get the ball, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah.
And
No,
I have,
and the end result is really transformed. So I wouldn't have known that, all that, with looking at your work at all without you explaining that. I mean, I see the theme now, but it's totally transformed. So yeah.
I would love to see your shopping carts. Where are they?
Oh, I'll send you something. I'll send you a link to some of them.
Oh, that's great. If you want to go a little further, the next two slides, I kind of talk about that a little bit. I don't know
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
if you saw that.
I have a question for Heather.
Oh,
Go ahead, Sadie. Yeah, could you talk a little bit more on how you actually did these prints? You said you did them without a press at your place.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm like, do you use your hands, your body? Do you put them on the floor? Exactly. Do you mind sharing your process and how you printed these without a press?
Sure. Well, when I did the first test, it was kind of to see how much, it's just really putting a lot of ink on the plexiglass. And I would wipe it off, the parts that are a different color, you know, kind
Oh, I
of
see.
kind of like painting, and then I would just press it on there and kind of walk on it and stand on it, and a little rolling pin action sometimes, but I didn't find that the roller really helped me very much. But yeah, just really pressing on it, and that's how it happened.
So did you do more than you have more than one color, so did you do several different runs, like you did yellow, you did red?
Yeah.
Did so you did every different color is a different press, right?
Yeah. So if we go back a couple slides to, oh, that's forward. A little bit further. More. Yeah, right here. Oh, one more. See on the left there, that's my acrylic plate on the floor, and the parts
Oh
are
yeah.
washed out. So it's just blue. And so each print has like a black and then a red or yellow or blue. So there's two intaglio inks for the bottom colors, and then there's a black key, and then the ball that is green in each one is a different color, and that's green. So there's
So
two.
you wipe off the colors. I see.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the blue, you've wiped off the ball and some of the foreground. You've wiped them off. So did you go back in and apply a different color to those areas, or?
Yeah, I would start with another plate. That black underneath there is the transparency, and I just slide it under there to use as a guide and lift out in a reductive way the where I want the other color to peek through, or where I want them to blend together to make a new color, because they're transparent and they'll make new colors. when they're combined. So yeah, I'll just pull that acrylic sheet it's just clear, and I'll just roll one color on there and lift it out, and then do another color and lift it out and press them together. And then there's 2 screen colors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.
How many layers are there?
There's just 4. There's 2 intaglio inks and 2 screen inks. So there's always a red or a yellow or a blue and a black.
Mm-hmm. And can I ask you what size these were again?
Yeah, they're a little shy of 14 and a little shy of 24.
Okay. And what kind of paper did you use?
It's a BFK Reeves 280.
Thank you.
Thank you. So
Do you want to go forward, Heather?
sure, let's talk about the objects with agency coming to bring me some messages. So here is the basis of the objects with agency work that I've been doing lately, and I've found these terms repetitive metaphysics and synchromysticism to describe them. Basically, it's about coincidences, happenstance, and repetitive processes that come into play when something's becoming. And this is a painting I did last year. These cards I've been collecting that I find on the side of the road for many years. And I probably have about 40 of them total, but this is the Queen of Hearts. Can we go to the next slide? And here's a print I did about it. It's called 7 Sevens. These cards I have, they're mostly hearts, and then there's 7 sevens. And so I made this print about there being 7 sevens, and there's a road there indicating how they're found. And that's basically it on that. We can keep going. Part of my work is associated with place. I do a lot of work about place. Having grown up in the West, I'm really inspired by these big open spaces and these big giant skies, and really influenced by American iconography, which is about like, it started during right around the Depression, where Dorothea Lange and other photographers were taking photographs for the federal government, and they did a lot of like, they wanted them to really capture the culture of America, and that really interests me. I'm also really influenced by William Eggleston and his color sense in his photography. This is Tall Tales #1, which is another series. There's 3 different images to this series. But this is the cowboy, and this cowboy is 40 foot tall, and I photographed it here in Denver. And it's a sight to behold. It was for an amusement park but now it sits in front of a RV court. So it's just this big, tall, magical cowboy. And let's go to the next one. This is Obsolescent 3. This one is taken in Utah. This is taken it's outside Roosevelt, which is where I spent a lot of time when I was younger. And it's just this amazing rundown drive-in that no one goes to, that is just surrounded by all this open space. And let's see the next one. This last one, Last Chance Lounge, is a really interesting one. This one is close to me. This photograph is between here and Boulder. It's not here anymore, but it's in this little lounge, and it's actually across from the Rocky Flats Superfund site where we built plutonium triggers for nuclear bombs back in the 50s. And it's just sitting out there and nothing's really around it because of the Superfund. And it's interesting that people go eat there. But currently, they've been building a lot of homes there, right there on top of the Rocky Flats. And it's really, it was really polluted, and they still test all the time, this site, for plutonium, and sometimes they find it and sometimes they don't. I mean, they always find it, but sometimes there's really high levels, and the half-life of plutonium is like forever and ever and ever and ever. It just will always be there, and it's a really interesting story. They protested for many years to get this site shut down. I know there's some accounts where they used to just blow the plutonium waste out on the land here, like sprinklers, and it's just crazy. It's really crazy. I know Ginsburg came out and he protested, and it finally got shut down in the 90s after a grand jury, federal grand jury, shut them down. Anyway, I talked a lot about that, and I wasn't going to, but that's that one. This one's actually shown a lot. It was at the Brenton Museum just a couple months ago. It's also been at Sangre de Cristo Art Center, and it's also been at the Greg Moon Gallery there in Taos. So that's my Last Chance Lounge, and I think that's it for me. Oh, there's one more. Tower on the Mountain. This one was taken close to where I live, but what while I was doing this, there was that horrible campfire in California, and how it started with this power line was really, while I was making this, just kind of gave me pause. So that's what that one's about. And that's here in Coal Creek Canyon. I think that's actually it. Yep, there I am. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to talk about that.
Well, thank you, Heather. It's just a delight to have both of you here tonight, telling us more about your work. And I want to invite any of the other Punching Marshmallows artists who are not currently on our schedule to give a talk if you like. We'd love to hear from you. Does anybody have any questions for Heather? No, crickets.
Thank you.
Heather, I really love those last pieces.
Oh, thank you.
They're really amazing, and you really captured something that really took me there, especially the drive-in. I'm from Ohio, and I've been behind those screens many times.
Well, and it's interesting how they do the drive-ins now for the COVID.
Yeah.
Has anyone here been to a COVID drive-in? No, me
No.
either. But interesting how that is back.
Well, they're reviving them. That's great.
I would like to ask Heather a question about how she works with color. Do you premeditate your color, or do you work spontaneously? Or how exactly does your process go? Because I see that you change a lot of the different colors, like when you were working with the cowboy, and how different the color change really makes the image. And I was just wondering what your process was as you're going through working.
Well, currently, someday maybe I will get beyond my 4 colors, but I try to stay with 4 colors, just the 1 red, 1 yellow, 1 blue, and 1 black, and have them make the other colors. And I'll use different shades of yellow or different shades of blue, but the color pairings are really kind of intuitive. I know I'm going to use some, those four metrics, but I'm never really sure. And one thing I find with monotype is you can never really tell what's going to happen when you marry those 2 colors together. Maybe over a lifetime of doing it, I would be able to say, oh, I want this to be chartreuse. And I guess I could figure it out and say, try and figure out what that color is and which shades to marry, but I haven't gotten that good yet.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys, artists and participants. This was really great. I really enjoyed everything so much. We're gonna have another talk in 2 weeks, so please everyone tune in. And we will be posting this up on our YouTube channel so that you can share with interested parties. So have a great evening. Congratulations, artists. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Remarque.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Nice seeing you, Heather, and thanks for everyone else coming.
Too lovely to meet you.
Nice meeting you too, Heather. Love seeing your work.